Hello everyone. So in this video we are going to cover about the Montague Declaration of 1917, and we have seen that this declaration has come after the this Act of 1909, which was also known as Morley Minto reforms. So in the end we have covered the various defects and the conclusion of this Morley Minto reforms. So right now we are going to get with the Montague Declaration 1917. So let's first start with the introduction. So the Montague Declaration of 1917 is the greatest landmark in the constitutional history of the India. And in July 1917, Lord Montague was appointed the Secretary of State for India. Lord Montague was appointed the Secretary of State for India on July 1970, and his view was liberal towards the India. On August 20, 1970, important announcement was made by him, and in which he declared the policy of British government towards India, that in years to come the policy announced by him remains the policy of the government till 1947. Means the policy which he announced on August 20, 1917, continued till the 1947, means till the end of the British rule. So now let's see the what were the factors responsible for the declaration of the this Montague Declaration. So in the beginning of the 20th century, the Britishers were not in favor of giving responsible government to India, as we have seen the announcement of the Lord Curzon, that he in between the Lords Assembly, he has said that he will never favor the Indians on government. And he said that it is impossible to give him means impossible to give him the give the Indian full representation. So and so in the beginning of the 20th century, the Britishers were not in favor of giving a responsible government to India. In 1909, Lord Morley had declared that responsible government was not possible for the generations to come. Also, Lord Morley has same view as like the of the Lord Curzon. Lord Morley's successor, Lord Crew Hunt. After Lord Morley, the Lord Crew Hunt is expressed similar opinion. But since 1913, the circumstances in India started changing quite fast, and British government had to change its policy, and this became the factor responsible for Montague Declaration. So number one is the influence of revolutionary movement. Though the British government was able to suppress a revolutionary movement in India, yet it had created a sense of fear among the rulers, and it compelled Britishers to give some administration reforms to India. Second reason was the Home Rule movement, which was run by the Bal Gangadhar Tilak, as we have seen that in the 1907 Congress meeting, in the Congress party was divided into moderate and extremists. So and the main leader of the extremists was Bal Palan Lal. So Bal Gangadhar Tilak led this rule movement, and Miss Annie Besant, means Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Mrs. Annie Besant established Home Rule League in Madras and started movement to get Swaraj. The objective of this movement was to establish self-rule in India. The government took steps to suppress the movement, and all important leaders were arrested. But this movement created an awareness among the people. Number third factor was the reunion of moderate and extremist. After the passing away of Sir Firoz Shah Mehta and Gopal Krishna Gokhale, the moderate and extremist had been reunited. As a result of this, the Congress became quite strong, and it gave a flip to the national movement. Congress fourth reason is the Congress League Government Agreement of Lucknow Pact. Congress League Agreement of Lucknow Pact. So as a result of British policy towards Turkey, the Muslim turned against the Britishers, and the Congress took advantage of this. Means there's certain policies which Britishers were taking on the Turkey, and as the Turkey was the Muslim dominant country, so Muslims of Indians also get turned against toward the Britishers. So in 1915, both the parties convened their session in Bombay and prepared a plan to come closer to one another. Means Hindu and Muslims prepared plans to come together and fight against the Britishers. In 1916, both League was Muslims League, and Congress convened their joint session in Lucknow and entered into an agreement which gave further strength to the national movement. So we have seen home rule and influence of revolutionary movement, reunion of moderate and extremist of the Congress, and Congress League Agreement of Lucknow Pact. Congress League Agreement of Lucknow Pact had a great role in the declaration of Montague Declaration 1917. So number fifth was the influence of the First World War. So during the First World War, the Indians made all-out sacrifices and gave proof of their loyalty towards the British king. Out of India, about 10 lakh soldiers went to other countries to fight in favor of the British government and showed exceptional bravery in out of the war. 10 lakh, such a huge number. Indian soldiers shows their dedication towards the British army. Even Lord Curzon was impressed by the bravery of Indians, and as a result of all this, it had become essential for the government to give concessions to the Indians. Also, number sixth factor was the Mesopotamia model. When the Swaraj movement was at its peak, the Mesopotamian Mesopotamian Commission report was published. In the report, the lack of coordinate between the War Office in London and Indian office was held responsible for the devastation of Indian force in the Mesopotamia. Actually, it was like that in Mesopotamia. To control the certain revolutions of the Mesopotamia, British government gone there with some of the Indian soldiers, but due to poor coordination between the War Office and Indian Office, it leads to the defeats of the Indian forces and surrender. So this Mesopotamia model proved to be another concrete step for the giving of the 1917 Montague Declaration. So the commission recommended that Indians should be given part in administration to ensure better coordination with the British government. So they wanted better coordination with the British government so that for further as this type of surrender do not take place further. British did not have to accept defeat. Basically, because of this defeat, the Britishers feel ashamed of their rule. Now let's see the main provision of the Montague Declaration. Number one was the promise of gradual self-government. Means at the end, this was the first time that the British government officially promised to bring introduce self-governing institution in India. However, it did not specify clear time or framework for the full self-rule, and in later we will see that this was the reason also that it basically the not giving the perfect timeline of self rule proved to be the reason of the failure of the this Montague Declaration 1917. So let's see second provision of the Montague Declaration, which is the responsible government as the ultimate goal. So in the state, if it states that the eventual goal of the British policy in India was the progressive realization of responsible government. This meant that Indians would be given greater participation in administration, but under British supervision. Means under British supervision, they will be given representation and a step by step reforms Means the declaration made it clear that reforms would be introduced in a stage depending on India's capacity to govern itself. Number fourth provision was of to safeguard for British control. So while promising reforms, the British retained control over defense, foreign policy, and key administrative matters. The British government emphasizes that any transitions to self-rule must be gradual and controlled. This statement we have also seen with the declaration, which Queen's Proclamation of 1858, that gradually change in the bring changes in the Indian administration. But at that time, it was not directly said out to be that in self-governing changes will be made. Now let number fifth provision is the incorporation into future reforms. Means the declaration served as the basis for the Government of India Act 1909, also known as Montague reforms, which we'll see later, which it introduced the diarchy in provincial administration. So in coming video we will see what is diarchy. Now let's see the significance of Montague Declaration. So basically, Montague Declaration marked the first time the British formally recognized Indians' right to self-governance, though in a limited and gradual manner. But this was for the first time that the British government realized that Indians should be given their self-governance. Indians have the right to self-governance. But in the it failed to satisfy Indian nationalists as it did not granted immediate self-rule or clarify the extent of future independence. As we have seen here, that Montague Declaration has said that it will work towards introducing self-governing institution in India, but a clear timeline of self-rule was not given. So, due to this, the Indian Nationalist Party, Indian Nationalist means Indian National Congress was not satisfied. Also, the vague promise means false promise led to the discontent, which later fueled movement like non-cooperation movement, which we know about that it took place in between 1920 and 1922, and demand of the Purna Swaraj, complete independence. So for now, let's stop here. In the next video, we will see the Government of India Act 1909 or Montague-Chelmsford reforms, in which diarchy was introduced, as we have seen before. That led to the introduction of diarchy in India. So thank you.